I'm so tired. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. I'm just watching a music video. So,
Hi. We're recording.
so, uh, so I was doing this long-term fourth grade assignment, subbing assignment, and they go, "You got to teach these kids poetry." And I was just like, "Yeah, sure." And they give me these poems. I'm staring at them, and the teacher's giving the vice principal's in there, and she's giving the example of like how to find the rhyme in it. Basic like A B, A B B, blah blah blah. And she and I are going through these poems like separately, and we can't find the rhyme. And even like I can see it in her eyes, like there's a little bit of panic, and she's like, I can see it in her eyes, like, where the heck's the rhyme? And when I get to it, and I'm like, yeah, where is the rhyme? And of course, she leaves, and I'm like all on my own. I'm like, I don't know if maybe I just suck at poetry, that I can't find the rhyme in this, but like, there's no rhyme here. So they have me working with the teacher this week. She's returned. And we were going through the poems, and she was looking at it, and she goes, "The hell are with these poems? There's no rhyme." And I was like, "Thank God." I'm not insane. I'm not terrible. I was like, "Are you smarter than a fourth grader?" Did not feel smarter than a fourth grader. I can tell you that. On that note, roll that intro.
I'm Rebecca.
And I'm Deanna.
And we're the Halfwit Sisters.
And we're back. Hi. Just give it a little trim and it'll be a bowl cut.
Oh, you know what? Right now, it's like one of those emo looks. Life is meaningless. Don't look at me. The world is terrible. We are supposed to be reviewing Encanto. That was what we agreed on.
Yes.
That is what we agreed on. We both watched it separately, but on the same day. Entirely not meaning to. So we went and watched it, so we figured we'd go ahead and talk about it. That, and also because we can't do much gaming right now because neither one of us has a way of recording games unless we do it the old classic way.
Which is really annoying.
Yeah. And for like the last 2 weeks, you posted the same title.
Different videos, though. I went and fixed that when I realized, and I was like, shit. Crap. Okay. Oops.
Yeah, so today we're gonna review Encanto. It came out November 24th, around Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Around Thanksgiving. Also, I did NaNoWriMo. This would be my first. I did it. I did not meet the $50,000 $50,000 word goal, but I did get to 17, no,
13.
18,000, 17, something 17,000 words.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's a
it's like
lot.
yeah, I was almost at 20,000, almost. So, ah. So next year, I ain't getting it done this year, but next year that novel will hopefully be done and out. So I'm excited.
Nice. I'm looking forward to reading it.
Thank you. During that same month, I also wrote a kid's book.
Yes.
I did.
You wrote that in a day.
I did. I posted about that on my TikTok. I felt bad for making the fourth graders do work nonstop writing for like 2 weeks straight because they don't normally do that. But I don't have access to everything that they use to teach kids. So I had to make them write a lot. And I felt bad. And so I was like, would you guys like me to write something? And they were like, yeah, write something. And I was like, okay. So I wrote something. And I know how to fix it because I read the kids the rough draft and they liked it. And then some of them didn't. And they let you know
At least they're honest.
brutally. One kid walked up to me and was like, Miss Easton, I didn't like that. It was boring. I'm like, okay,
Rude.
that's fine. That's all right. Another kid, like before I was reading it, came up to me and was like, can I play my computer game while you're reading? And I was like, oh, I wrote this for you and you want to play your computer games? Wow. And like the entire class was like, wow, person. Wow, rude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But at the end of the day, a lot of them liked it. So it was good.
That's
It was
good.
So that will probably be another thing that I try and get published next year as well after I clean it up, get it out, get it done. And maybe I'll actually talk about how to write a book for children.
Because it's the second one you've written.
It is. It is. I still have to clean up the first one too. I know how to fix that one up. I have to get rid of all of the trademark material that's in the first one.
Yeah. Unless you work with them.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of. They were like, there's like two different companies in there, I think. Unless it's, yeah, I think it's like two different companies, like Mayor Listerine,
True.
City Crest White. It was about teeth. Teeth, okay? I don't remember why I wrote it about teeth and like a mayor of mouthwash, like Mayor Mouthwash and the city of white teeth. And then they were attacked by Cavity Army. But like that was what I wrote about. So yeah, that's something to get cleaned up too. So yeah, those. But yeah, I wrote a kid's book and then I wrote like almost 20,000 words of a novel in the month of November.
Which is really good. It's a lot.
Thanks. Thanks.
She's so proud of herself.
Oh, so proud. I also posted two blog posts on Medium because I started a Medium account, so I did that as well. A lot of writing is what I'm saying. It happened in November. A lot of writing.
That's good.
Yeah. But that's not what we came here to discuss. We came here to talk about
Encanto.
Dun, 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 dun. So first off, I'm going to pull up instead of like trying to figure out how to like talk about Encanto, I'm going to pull up something that tells us the synopsis of Encanto. So this is the film synopsis. For those that don't know, this is what Encanto is about. The Marigolds are an extraordinary family who live hidden in the mountains of Colombia in a charmed place called the Encanto. The magic of the Encanto has blessed every child in the family with a unique gift. Every child except Maribel. However, she soon may be the Marigold's last hope when she discovers that the magic surrounding the Encanto is now in danger. That's what it's about.
Cool. And Mirabel decides that she, the only ordinary Marigal, might be just what her exceptional family's last hope is. Yeah. But yeah. So can we talk about how I cried multiple times?
So many times. So many times.
I was just like,
We're a spoiler podcast, so let's put that out there right now. Spoiler! Big warning sign now. So,
Gotta do that in edits.
yeah, obviously. So
I'm reminding myself.
we're a spoiler podcast, so if you don't want to be spoiled, don't watch this episode. But there were so many things that was going on. If you are like big in family, this is gonna be one that hits you hard in the field for family. Wow.
I just woke up from a 15-minute nap.
I don't freaking care.
I was sitting here waiting for like 2 hours. And then you're like, I'm going to get food.
You get off work at 4:30.
No, I get home at 4:30.
Yeah, which is like 3:30 for me. Anyways. So right off the bat, the song that got me was Surface Pressure, which is the eldest daughter Louise's song. Her whole gift is about being strong. And her song destroyed me. And it hit me so hard. Like if you're just like the oldest child, a lot of the song talks about like being the eldest daughter, but if you're just like the oldest child in general, that it's gonna smack you hard. I feel like it will smack you hard.
Yes. It's definitely, because even while I was watching it, like there are parts of it that I can completely connect to even as the younger sibling. But it's like, yeah, no, what's the line? Give it to your sister.
Give it to your sister because she is stronger.
Yeah, that's definitely something that like happens with us. Of like, oh, there's drama happening. Becca, you take care of it.
It's like there's something going on, like putting the parents on blast, but there will be something that goes on in the family, and then it's like you look at the other sibling, and it's like, who's gonna handle this one?
It's always you. I remember I got into a fight with Mom last year, and they called you to talk to me, and you were often the go-between.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That happens, or there's something that needs to be talked to with the parents, and the rest of the family will come and talk to me about it. And they'll be like, hey, do you know this is a thing that's wrong? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, you should say something about it. And I'm like, okay. Now I gotta go talk about it. There or I feel like I have to defend the family in some sort of way. Like there's a big defense of the family, not putting our family, putting our entire family on blast. There was a time where everybody was like real upset with our mom because she was like jet setting. She was off everywhere, and a lot of people were like, "Why isn't your mom home? Why is she always changing her job? Why are these always happening?" And I was like, "You need to understand what sort of life we have lived as people who have grown up in the military, as people who have lived in the military. Like it's very natural for us to be travelers, for mom to like change her job every so often. It was almost a necessity, right? So you need to understand that these things aren't weird to us. It's actually really normal. So when we hear mom is on to another thing, you and me are just like, all right, that's what she's doing. Right?
Yeah.
Like our family is just like, that's what she's doing now because that's like what we've grown up with and what we're used to have seeing. And like having to explain how she's had to do things uh, to other people because of the upbringing and the lifestyles we've had. Um, it's like some people had to, it clicked that with some of our family members, and they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. We hadn't thought about it in that regard. We hadn't thought about what it was like for the wife to be married to a serviceman. We hadn't thought about what it was like to be the mother of the daughters of a serviceman, so on and
Yeah.
so forth, right? Like none of that. So those things like I found myself having to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't come to me for that.
No, yeah, no, I have. I have. And we've even talked about like how there will be conversations that will happen, and I've asked, "Have you had these conversations with mom?" And you're like, "Nope, you've had them all."
Nope. Those aren't the conversations I gotta have. I'm the little sister. I don't gotta do any of that.
Yeah, yeah. So Louise's story through her song really did like smash me. I I made it through. I was like, I'm gonna survive this. And then I got to the second minute, like right after the song goes, did Hercules ever say, "Yo, I don't want to fight Cerberus"? And then it goes into the next part where let me bring up those lines.
Under the surface, I'm pretty sure I'm worthless if I can't be of service.
Oh man. Bam, that one hurt. Uh, but the ones that really started getting me is give it to your sister. Your sister's older. Give her all the heavy things we can't shoulder, right? That was when I was like, tears, absolute tears. And because I'm in a theater, I can't start crying. And then the next lines that came up was like, give it to your sister. It doesn't hurt. And see if she can handle every family burden. Watch as she buckles and bends, but never breaks. No mistakes. That there's like a there's like a whole bunch of people on like TikTok that is like this this dang. But
So,
the mhm
funny thing about that is you sent me that the first time,
mhm
right?
mhm
And then you had made a comment in our weekly gaming session of just like, this is taking over TikTok. And I'm just like, I've only seen it twice. And you're
I
the
didn't
one
mean
that
to,
sent one of those to me.
I didn't mean to say it was taking over TikTok. I meant like the whole I'll get to that in a second. And then the next final bit, which is towards the end of the song, that really just like did me in. Like I was holding it in that last bit, but I pretty much just started crying in the middle of the theater. Was give it to your sister and never wonder if the same pressure would have pulled you under. Who am I if I don't have what it takes? No cracks, no breaks, no mistakes, no pressure, right? And that line, and never wonder if the same pressure would have pulled you under. That was like, oh, oh, yeah, yeah. Like Like that. Whoa. What I meant in terms of like this is taking over is the design of Louise is she's very bulky. She's very bulky, but she's feminine still. And there were a lot of people that loved to see that, to see this strong, like this is when we say we want a strong woman, female character, like this is what we mean. This very bulky, but feminine. Like she has her hair in this beautiful bun. She's dressed in these beautiful clothing, right? She's not looking rough and tumbled, even though we can see that she can, even though we know she can be. There's a picture. We'll put a picture of her up somewhere. But she is just like beautifully designed. Uh, and she doesn't look terrible even next to all of the other female characters in this movie, which they could have done, you know?
Especially with how they made the middle sister, Isabella.
Yeah.
Isabella is supposed to be the perfect daughter.
The golden child.
She's the golden child. She's the perfect child. She's beautiful, and she is. But Louisa doesn't like look terrible next to her. She stands on her own as a beautiful, strong sister that she is.
Yeah. Yeah. And so on the flip side of that, when we go and look at Isabella's story, her whole thing is the pressure of being perfect, right? So Louise is the pressure of of handling the burdens and everything. Isabella is being perfect, being that golden child, and having to handle making sure that everything is just right where it needs to be. And when she effectively grows the cactus, right? And breaks the stereotype that she has stepped into and the mold that she was willing to like step into. Like that was another just like, oh, I really like this. It's kind of like for her song was so much like the opposite of Elsa, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It was like Elsa's song, but kind of like the opposite of it. What can I do? Let it go. What can I do?
Yeah.
But in a way, both Louise's and Isabella's stories when it was approached with Mirabel is about being yourself, right? Letting go and feeling and being yourself when they spoke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Louisa was very much not allowed to feel weak and crack under any of the pressure that she's under. Isabella was very much not allowed to be imperfect.
Mm-hmm.
It was expected of Mirabel that there was nothing expected of Mirabel. It was all put on her two older sisters.
Mm-hmm. Or what? Why was there nothing expected of Mirabel?
Because she didn't have any special powers.
Mm-hmm.
Which is funny because the entire time that I'm watching this, she has more of a connection with the house than any of them.
She does. And
None
the house
of them use
has
the
a
house
connection
like she
with her.
does. Yeah.
Huh?
None of them use the house in the same way she does.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If you pay attention, if you really truly pay attention, the house just gives to them constantly, right? And it's kind of like they just are accepting of the house giving them whatever. But she communicates with the house. She like takes her time to like talk with it and joke around with it, and it's very much a buddy feel with her in the house. Like the first thing she does is she greets the house in the morning. Good morning, Cassietta, right? Like nobody else in the house does that or takes the time to talk about what's going on with the house.
Yeah. The house becomes an actual character and an actual like person with her.
Mm-hmm.
And like it makes faces and it shrugs. Like it doesn't do that with the rest of the family. The rest of the family, it just like bubbles along to move the groceries or whatever, or the furniture
Or
around for them.
acts like a treadmill for Louise,
Yeah.
right? The other thing you notice is that, uh, which I wish they showed a little bit more of this, but it's kind of hinted at in each person's room. The house can't do anything. The house can't affect anybody else's room, right? So when she went into like Bruno's room, she's like, Castietta, can you help me go in? Can you help me? Right? And it's like, I can't do anything. There's like a little conversation. She's like, you can't help me in this. So she has to climb those stairs up to Bruno's tower. And that's completely opposite of where she's at. And what we find out is the nursery. She lives in the nursery. And so she so that's the whole thing. Like she lives in the nursery and the house helps her with everything. Like you see the way it's so natural for her to just walk and pick up her shoes as she walks, because it's just a thing that she's been doing since she was a kid. But it's hinted at, no, if they're in their rooms, the house can't affect those rooms.
Yeah. And it kind of makes sense because, I guess it might be skipping ahead a little of just like what is Mirabel's power, because she doesn't ever get a power, but at the very end she does get a doorknob that she uses to open the house. And I honestly, that's her powers. Her power is interacting with the house. And so that's why she didn't need a room. That's why when she went to go get her powers, the door faded away because she already had her room.
I didn't really put too much thought at the very end of like what was going on there. I'm not gonna lie. So let's back up a little bit more. So the other people have also pointed out that there wasn't a whole lot pointed into like her cousins, what was going on with her cousins, like the which is the one that could hear, the guy who could change, and the one that we get at the beginning who is getting his gift for the first time, and that is the ability to talk to animals, talk and like interact with animals. We don't really get a whole lot from that family other than this song. We don't talk about Bruno.
I love that song.
That song is so good, and there's a lot of great information that just comes out of that song.
I was listening to it while I was waiting for you earlier,
Mm-hmm.
and I really realized Dolores says she can still hear Bruno. And at one point she's like, it's like, but that's like the only time where she says, it's like I can still hear him. I can hear him. And the rest of the time it's like, I can hear him. I can hear him. And then she admits it in like the last song of like, I always knew he was here. I could hear him.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so we don't get other besides we don't talk about Bruno. We don't get a whole lot of interaction from the other three besides the beginning or that song. That's it. Or the when she figures out what the vision is, right? That's it. Everybody, like the ones that especially the brother, the cousin that can change, he really takes a backseat to
Camillo.
yeah, he takes a backseat to just pretty much the entire thing.
He was very much just like a background character. Most of the family was just background characters brought forward when you needed information.
Exposition or something, yeah.
Yeah. It's like going back to no one talks about Bruno. Dolores in there talks about how the family doesn't understand the prophecies that he gives, directly even asking Mirabella, do you understand that they don't understand? So, and her mom is Pippa,
Mm-hmm. Peppa, who can control the weather.
who can control the weather.
Mm-hmm.
She's brought in of like, just like a passing thing of like, hey Peppa, the rain clouds are here. It's like, I know.
Mm-hmm. Now that might be that was probably really interesting in the fact that they used her as a way of showing like how his prophecies affect other people. But so a side note on her, it a theory. We'll put it like a theory. Here's a theory about about that. So the whole song opens up with uh talking about their wedding day, her and her husband's wedding day, and how they got married in a hurricane because the brother Bruno had walked in with a mischievous grin, as they say, and said something about it raining, right? And then at the very end of the movie, he comes in, Bruno's there, and he's apologizing about it, saying, "Hey, I was just letting you know that I saw that you were nervous." Right? So he's just trying to say, "I see that you're nervous. I just wanted to help calm you down in some way." Right? So my theory is this: there wasn't going to be a hurricane, but she controls the weather. And because he walks in, he sees his sister is nervous. He, in his good heart, because by this point we have learned the very end, right? We learn that Bruno loves his family, has a good heart. He wanted to help her, but he said the wrong thing. She freaked out, and they got married in the hurricane, right?
Yeah.
Her powers went haywire, and they ended up marrying in a hurricane.
Yeah. But despite that, Felix, her husband, does say it was a joyous day anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was a lot of things, and it probably stems from Abuela, something, I can't remember what her name is, the Abuela, because the Abuela always had such strict rules about their powers being needed to help everyone, that they're like, it's kind of hinted that they're not supposed to really use their powers unless it's to help. So she's not supposed to be like controlling the weather every single time through her emotions. She has to keep very tight control on her emotions, and Bruno sees that and is like, hey, it's okay to feel this. And that's the same thing like Mirabel was doing with her sisters. Hey, it's okay to bend under this pressure and share this pressure, and it's okay to not be perfect.
Mm-hmm. It's okay to do what you want to do. Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that's also what Bruno was always trying to do, is always help. Just he said it in the wrong way, or just like people misinterpreted and didn't understand that his intentions.
And that's what that whole song, like, if you take a moment to like stop and break down Bruno's song and like what everybody was saying, like some of it, like he said my goldfish would die and my goldfish died. Yeah, it's a goldfish. It's gonna die.
He was giving you a warning. Hey, take better care of your goldfish. Oh, nope,
Yeah.
it's dead.
He said I was gonna lose my hair. You're gonna lose your hair, right? Right? That's genetics. He said I was gonna get fat. Well, yeah, he probably was telling you to work out, right? It's like things that were kind of like generic and giving you a warning is like, hey, you should probably look out for this, and they took it in the wrong way themselves. That was like the whole song about Bruno. Um, so when we finally meet Bruno, him, first of all, his character, loved it. Loved it. Also, he breaks your heart.
He does, and he does it so quickly.
Yeah. That the way that they introduce his character in the trailer really makes you think he's going to be like the villain, right? And even when you are even in the song Bruno, you really think you're going to get the villain out of this. But when you finally do meet him, uh, it's like the way that they make you, the quick way that they show that he's not there to hurt her, or he's not going to hurt her, is that instance where he saves her from falling.
I died in the theater because she's hovering over this hole. She's like hanging on by for dear life. There's fog obscuring the floor. And if she had just dropped, the fog would have come up to like her knees.
Right. And then he stands like, and then he's the one that falls. And then when he stands up, it's like, oh. And it's like a very embarrassing moment for both of them. And they're just like, whatever. And it's such a like a really cheesy way of going about it, like a very slapstick comedy moment. But it works. It works. And it leaves a very awkward, like everybody feels awkward in that moment. It's a great, really awkward feeling. And when they're staring at each other, he's like, well, I'm going. And he leaves. Right. Right. And then they show you in the back how he was trying to fix the cracks in the house. Right. It's like a consecutive thing. It's like boom, 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 really quickly of showing you everything to really build him real quickly so that you will feel something and realize what exactly or how to exactly interpret his character.
Yeah.
One, he helps he saves Mirabel from falling to her death. So that was quick, right? Instant connection. The next thing is
hold on. First you see him, he's mysterious, he's running and he's a mystery. Then it feels like he's going to leave Mirabel, but he saves her.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get to the cracks.
Then we get to the cracks in the wall. And that's like, okay. And then they do some more comedy with him because like he's gone insane at this point. Yeah. Or has he always been insane? The guy who sees the future, has he always been insane?
Probably.
So they go on, and then they get to his room in the house. And that's where they do the quickest boom, boom, boom on here is the emotional impact we're going to do. And it is just, there's a moment in there where Mirabel walks up. She sees like this little hole in the, like a little ray, and she goes up. Yeah, a little ray of light, and she goes up and she looks through the thing, and it's the table that they sit at every night to eat. And then she looks down, and there's a plate that he drew on the table that has Bruno on it. And I yelled in the theater, no. Don't you do this to me. No.
Yeah. They did a really good job of going from the trailers and setting our expectations of him being the villain to the mysterious stranger of like, oh yes, he's the villain, he's not the villain, he's kind of insane, oh he's kind of really sad, and oh fuck. He loves his family.
Yeah. Yeah. And then when he breaks down about the vision, like who the vision and Maribel, you realize he did it's a story of an outcast protecting the other outcasts of the family. And that was another thing that was like their stories are parallel to each other. It's one outcast to the other outcast, and him wanting to protect her because he knows exactly how his vision is going to be taken because of how every single time he's given a vision, it's been taken in the past. And he's like, I don't want that for my niece. I don't want that for my niece. I don't want whatever they're gonna take. I don't want that. So I'm going to leave. And that's just like, ugh.
And then he lives in the walls.
He lives in the walls like a rat.
And poor Dolores has to hear him every fucking day.
Of course. Go for it. Oh,
But they don't talk about Bruno, so of course she's not going to tell her family, yeah, he's here in the walls.
how many things has Dolores like not talked about? Dolores is a kind of confusing character for me because one, they make her seem like a gossip, but then also she's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think I would love to see more of the cousins, so Dolores and Camilo and their brother, because they also have such an interesting story that I want to learn more about them, because yeah, how does Dolores know when to keep her mouth shut?
Mm-hmm.
Because she hears everything.
Everything. Yeah. Yeah. That's even included in like the first line, the very first song when they're talking about all of the gifts that everybody has. And she says, Maribel says she can even hear the chorus line, and they show Dolores like on a mountain somewhere out of town. And you're just like, yeah, she can even hear this. You're like, yeah. And then again, they reinforce that when she's sitting at the table and they're like, Dolores, what do you hear? And she's like, yeah, they're talking about when to propose, and he wants 5 children.
The shock of flowers.
Yeah, which
Five.
were like, yeah, which were flowers too.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So it was. I would love to see more. Like Encanto too is going to be more about them and right, because they set them up to have such interesting powers. Like, how does her brother, Camilo's powers? Like, how do people really? They kind of show it on how he benefits the village of like, oh, the mom needs some sleep, but she's got the crying baby. It's fine. I'll just be you for a minute.
Yeah, yeah. How does that side of the family? So we saw how Luis helped. Like Luis seemed to be like the most useful of everybody.
My house is tipping over.
Yeah, the donkeys have run away. I'll just go pick up the donkeys.
We need to move
Right?
this bridge.
There was a throwaway line. Hey, Louise, we need you to reroute the river. And her response was, no problem. I'm on it.
Yeah. Luis's powers, I'm sure Pepe's powers are really useful because she helps grow stuff, make sure the weather's perfect for the growing.
Mom's powers.
Maribel's mom's powers are great because, healing with freaking food.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I also liked how the two fathers aren't so accepting of just like,
everything.
yeah, my wife heals with food and my wife controls the weather and my kids have powers and I'm not threatened by this, totally okay with it and love it.
Yeah, there was a review that I read. I'll put it down in the description below. I still have it somewhere. There was a review I read where they were talking about how this was one of the movies where it had like the protagonist had both of her parents. But then I was like, well, no, a family member still has to die. And they did that at the very beginning where they killed off the grandpa, which, by the way, when they finally went through like the whole thing on how the grandfather dies, that was also hard. Like the emotional beats that they did in this movie were phenomenal. We were talking about it. I felt like this was so Coco is Pixar and Encanto is Disney.
Yes.
Okay, so that we have to be like very clear. So while I loved Coco, Encanto is better. is just better. And they both have like explore Latin themes. But
Yeah.
Coco explores way more Mexican themes. It has Della Morte.
Dios de la Muerte.
Thank you. Yes, it has that. And like it's beautiful in all in its world building, right? Beautiful in its world building. But you said something else about the skin tone.
Yeah, so Coco like just had this one skin tone is Mexican.
Mm-hmm.
Even when like yes, we're most of the time we're dealing with skeletons. But they all had the same feeling of like in their clothing and their designs of this is Mexico. While in Encanto, you see so many different clothing designs, you see so many different skin tones, hair colors, going, hey, this is Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just like one thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
Even with
showed the true diversity of that country.
yeah. Also in one family.
Yeah.
In one family, right?
The triplets. One's a redhead.
Oh, that's right. That's right. One is a redhead. Yeah. The the mother, brother, Bruno, the mom, and yeah.
Yeah, they're all you can tell they're siblings, but they're all different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I mean, okay, not to be like a whole thing, but that argument between the grandmother, abuela, and Maribel or Marigold was pretty spot on, right? Just it's your fault. It's like they're both like it's your fault, and it's like no, it's your fault. It's like yeah, woo.
Yeah, it was cool because like Maribel isn't wrong. Her grandmother's strictness about we are the Marigolds and we help the Encanto with our powers and our powers are for the Encanto are totally what's screwing her family.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that conflict that was causing the cracks.
Uh-huh. And this is so that's what really made this movie interesting in the fact that there wasn't a antagonist in the sense of like the Princess and the Frog where you had the
Shadow Man.
the Shadow Man, yeah, where you had the Shadow Man. It was all within the family. This need to be perfect. It was a lot of internal strife that was harming and essentially being the antagonist of the story. And that's why it was so much more interesting. And I think somewhere it said more nuance in one of the other things that I was reading, but it was so much more interesting to see this story versus some of the other stories that we've seen come out of Disney in the past. And this is their 60th this is their 60th, not 60th film, but their 60th year
Yeah.
and the film that they released for that.
Yeah. So this is the 60th anniversary for their animation.
Hmm.
So 60 years ago they started putting out their first animations. And they have come a super far way in showing their diversity.
Yeah.
And they are getting better and better at it every year. They still have a lot of work that they gotta do,
Hmm.
but we would not have had this kind of film 10 years ago.
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. I mean, Princess and the Frog. When did that come out?
That's a good question.
2009. So, yes, we would have had it 10 years ago.
But even Princess and the Frog was their first step back into like their hey, our Disney princesses with the
Yeah.
musical and musical numbers and all of that. But it while it is, yes, their first African American princess, it didn't really.
Well, I mean, they didn't keep it as an African American princess. They didn't. It wasn't. She's not even a princess, right? She's not even an actual princess. She's African American, and then they made her a frog.
Yeah.
So they
And
didn't even keep her human. They turned her into a frog.
yeah. So, and that's what they kind of did a lot with their POCs characters, is they
Even
end up
even with
turning them
Soul.
into, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Soul, this, there was a whole list of like all their POC
Characters.
characters. Oh, Brother Bear.
Yeah, Brother Bear. Like every POC, we're like you'd get excited. Oh, POC character, and then they would get reduced to like some sort of animal or spirit or
Yeah.
something along those lines. Yeah.
So the only two that I can think of, only three that I can think of off the top of my head that straight up don't get turned into animals is Mulan, Pocahontas, and nope, no, I lost the third one. But so it's like, okay, great.
No, I think that was Pixar though. Never mind.
Which one are you thinking?
Brave.
She's white. She's Scottish.
She's Scottish and she's Pixar.
Yeah. But so great. You have Pocahontas, which is a horrible representation of that story.
Mm-hmm.
Mulan, which I love, so I'm not going to complain about. um, but like, oh, Jasmine is the other one.
Jasmine, though, who was ultimately a damsel in distress the entire time
So
and
like,
overly sexualized.
yeah, so you're like, all your POCs are either super sexualized, turned into frog, turned into animals. So like
Or
10 years
damseled.
ago, or damseled, and you truly aren't gonna. Encanto, Mirabel is not. She's not She's, aside from the comedic effect of falling in the hole,
Right.
she's not the damsel. She's the true heroine. She's not turned into an animal. So yeah, I stand by the statement. 10 years ago, we would not have had this kind of movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Now that we've broken it down, yes, we would not have had this kind of movie 10 years ago. Um, at all. At all. Especially not with the diversity that we see
Yeah.
now in that film. Um, so and Lin Mandel is just rocking it with like
Manuel.
yeah, he's people are just asking him to write every musical. It feels like every musical right now.
Yeah.
I'm
So
gonna need to ask him to stop. There's
In
other.
the Heights came out years ago.
Hmm.
But the movie just came out.
Hmm.
And then of course Hamilton is really what blew him up. And then he did Moana. Oh, Moana is the other POC character.
Is that Disney? I thought that was Pixar.
No, she's Disney.
You know, it would help if I knew how to spell it. Oh, that's Mononoke.
That sits in 2016 is when that came out.
Yeah. Alan Turduck was the rooster.
Yeah. But so
He was born in El Paso, Texas, and grew up in Plano. I got distracted.
but
Keep going.
so as Becca's getting distracted here. Yeah, so it's just like Moana was there, like the first one where it was a POC character that didn't get turned into an animal and wasn't really damseled. She did have a big hulking man to help her throughout the entire thing.
Yeah.
But this one, the men weren't there to help her. They were only there to further the story, and and they were damseled.
Right? Oh, who's here to further the story now? Not me.
It was a very matriarchal family too.
It was, yes, it was. And who got fridge? Not me. Not me.
So yeah, you know,
It was very female oriented. I will give it that.
yeah.
I will give it that. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm extremely happy with like the direction that Disney's going and showing these POC characters and giving them a good story.
Yeah.
And not like rehashing some white story of like, oh, we're gonna take the Beauty and the Beast and just make Beauty black and that's gonna be our new Disney princess. No, they gave a good story.
Yeah.
An original story, and that's what I loved.
Yes. So let us go ahead and rank this. I give it a full wit.
Full wit. Can we give it more than full?
Let's give it a whole wit.
A whole 2 wits. It's got more than one. Yeah.
We had more than one brain cell between the two of us.
Rare, but it happens.
It gets them all. But yeah, it's by far one of my favorite movies. It's definitely hit in the top. Made it into my top 10 of movies. Just in its uniqueness, and the way that they handled just the execution of their idea, and the music was good.
Yeah,
it's good. Yeah,
I liked how imperfectly perfect the voices were in the singing. They weren't. You could hear them kind of straining for some of those notes, but it made sense in the character and in the voice that they were given.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, Louise was not a good singer.
No, but it made such perfect sense with her character.
Yeah, she wasn't like when I first heard the song, like when I first heard it, it was through TikTok. When I first heard it, I was like, ooh, what is this? But then I got to hear more of the song, and I was like, okay, I'm liking the story of the character. I want to hear more about what that song has to say about the character rather than like how good the character can sing, which is really what musicals are about. Like, what is the story of the character that this musical is trying to say?
Yeah. And so that's what I like. It's so perfectly imperfect in that they let the singers encapsulate the character rather than trying to hit those perfect notes and get it on key and make sure it's musical. And so
Yeah. So that has been our review of the movie Encanto. Highly recommend, guys. See it. If you have not, you should.
And if you have not and you watched this entire thing, well, we did tell you it was a spoiler cast.
Well, we did indeed. We did indeed.
But yeah. So you know what to do.
Like, comment, subscribe. Let us know down in the comment section if you got a chance to watch Encanto. What was your favorite song? Who's your favorite character? And what you liked best about the movie. And we'll see you next time. Bye. We should definitely do something about the new Hawkeye stuff.
Do you want to wait until it's finished?
I'm gonna do that.
Cool. Coming soon. I haven't stopped recording yet.